There she goes. What? What are you looking at? What a little punk. Yo, what up? It's Savage Henry Lee recording to you early in the morning in some sort of big grassy field. Look at that. Oh, and who do I got with me? Who do I got with me? I got a little Mabel. Got a little Mabel with me. Last couple of videos I made, you know, I was kind of critical of a new Ninja Turtle trailer, and then I was talking shit about an X-Men cartoon that's super popular to people a little younger than me. I went back and I'm looking at that stuff and I'm like, man, so fucking negative, man. So fucking negative. That's not everything I want this to be, you know? That's not everything I want to be talking about. So the other day I was selling some comics in the comic book store. I was specifically selling some old Jack Kirby comics, some comics that Jack Kirby wrote and drew. They were the original Eternals comics, you know, the thing that movie was based on recently. You heard of that movie, The Eternals? That was originally a Jack Kirby comic. The interesting thing about that comic to me was the realization that Jack Kirby was heavily inspired by the book Chariots of the Gods. Ah, man, I can almost remember the name of the guy who wrote it. Maybe I can put it up on the screen right now or something. Anyway, Chariots of the Gods was a very popular book in the late 60s, early 70s that was one of the first real official places where somebody was talking about the idea that maybe aliens brought human life or human civilization to Earth. That's a theory we're all pretty familiar with. The thing I was thinking was interesting was that Eternals, both, like, the movie is based on the comic, and the comic was inspired by Chariots of the Gods. There's another movie that I know of that was inspired by Chariots of the Gods, and that's Ridley Scott's Prometheus. Prometheus and Eternals. Two extremely different movies, like very, very different movies. I think one of them has Idris Elba in them, and the other one doesn't. Like, that's as different as two movies can be. I just think it's very interesting that you could put those two movies together and you could say, like, hey, these are two movies from the later half of the 20th century or the first half of the 21st century, or whatever the fuck we are in now. And they're both examples of renditions of the same philosophy or the same book. Sorry, I scared everybody. I'm just trying to feed some birds over here. I had some bird friends hanging out. Mabel's a little scared of them. Mabel, you scared of the burbs? Yeah, whatever. Just, you know, I don't know if I ever would have thought that those two movies have anything in common, Prometheus and Eternals, but they're both inspired by the same theory, the same philosophy, the same book that suggested either human beings as a species or human society, sort of like in a Prometheus sort of way, like aliens brought life and culture here to Earth. So you could put those two movies together. You could put Eternals and Prometheus together. You could have like a double picture showing, and you could be like, these are two ways to talk about the idea of human life being seeded on Earth by alien life, by extraterrestrials. So what's the fucking point? Who cares? Who gives a fuck, right? Like, well, what are we talking about? Why does any of this matter? I mean, none of this fucking matters. I'm just talking into a camera phone for the internet. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Mabel's taking me somewhere. Where are we going, Mabel? Where's Mabel's going? There she goes. Bet she's gonna poop soon. Waiting to poop. That's my version of waiting to exhale. I'm waiting for a butt to exhale. I'm waiting for my dog's butt to exhale. Have you seen Eternals? Have you seen Prometheus? I've seen Prometheus a bunch of times. I kind of really didn't like it. That's kind of, I always thought Prometheus was very interesting. I saw it around the same time as I saw the first Avengers, and I was always thinking, like, my comparison was, when I first saw the first Avengers, it was fine. I never had anything to say about it. Prometheus, on the other hand, I didn't like, but I was talking about it for like years afterwards. I'm still talking about it now. It's a flawed but fascinating movie, which at least is more interesting than a good but boring movie. Does this bring us back to Eternals? I haven't seen Eternals, so I can't really talk to it too much, but I do know that looking at the design, looking at the art, looking at what they did with that movie, they really did not embrace the Jack Kirby aspects of it. You know, I don't look at that movie and say, holy shit, that stuff was designed by Jack Kirby. I can fucking tell. What's his name? In that Thor movie, Thor 3, maybe even a little in Thor 4, you could see some Kirby influences. You would think that Eternals would basically be like a Jack Kirby love letter, considering that it was his book. But, you know, the funny thing is, too, is like, it's Disney and it's mainstream, so they really shy away from the theological implication. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I ran into some other people walking dogs there. Had to cut off my messaging. I just think it's kind of interesting to look at those two movies, to look at them both being two different applications of a similar theory. It's also interesting to think that once upon a time, the idea that aliens creating life on Earth was sort of a weird theory, whereas now I think we just kind of, like, it's part of the general minutia and background of sci-fi concepts. It's not an original idea in 2023. It's something we've been living with for, like, arguably thousands of years. I imagine that, like, as long as people have been looking up at the stars, there have been some dude saying to another dude, hey, maybe that's where we came from. Hard to say. Anyway, I guess that's all I really had to say on that topic. I just think it's interesting that you got two movies that are based on the same premise. And then the idea of, you know, getting into the Jack Kirby-ness of it all. Fucking Prometheus looks more Jack Kirby than the Eternals wound up looking. I'll never understand that kind of thing. I am Savage Henry Lee, walking out in the morning with Mabel. Hank and Mabel in the morning. And we're just out here having fun. Walking around, talking about dumb shit. Hey Mabel, you like hearing me talk about movies? Mabel doesn't care. Mabel needs to find a place to poop.